So I'm going to go ahead and I'm switching over to automatic 12 stitches per inch. I'm going to lock my stitches and then just go around this, and we'll see how this goes. There's some fullness in here, so that's going to have to be worked on as I'm quilting. I'm just manipulating the fabric with my thumb here. Okay, you can see there's going to be a little bit of fullness to work in, but that's not going to be too bad. I think that'll be all right. Now, if I hadn't have washed this quilt top beforehand, I might not have this much fullness, because the thread that this was pieced with, I think, shrunk a little bit, and it's pulled this top in, because it is not as square as it was before I soaked it, but it was musty smelling, and I have enough allergies to mold and mildew and that kind of thing, just seasonal allergies, that would have been a problem for me. So there we go. So I'm going to do this throughout the whole top, and then I'll get to the detail quilting and I'll show you what that is like. Okay, as it turned out, there were several places in this top that I had to do some tucking in to get this fullness where it's manageable, and here's one of those areas. This is the last one I think I have to do, but you can see there's quite a bit of fullness in here, and I'm going to have to pleat it somewhere, and I think the best place to do it is along the seam. So right along in here is where I'm going to pleat. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust this as much as I can at this point, and I'm going to put a pin in it, and I'm going to go ahead and start stabilizing by stitching in the ditch from this point here, and I'm going to go around, and then as I get to this side, I'll start tucking and I'll start sewing this down. So I'm going to show you how I'm doing this, and I am in stitch regulated mode, or automatic, and I'm at 12 stitches per inch, and I'm going to go as slow as I need to get this done. So this side over here isn't too bad. Now there are sections where I left the fullness down here on the other side. There's some places up at the top that I think I can work in as I quilt the design in. And as I get closer, that's about as far as I need to go. I'm going to adjust this fabric and bring my machine over and just take a couple of stitches right here. Now I have to get my fingers real close to the needle, so if you choose to do this, be very, very careful, because you do not want to run over your fingers. And you can pin this down if you want to, but go very slow. And you are going to have your stitches showing on the outside. Otherwise you could whip this down with an invisible stitch by hand, but I really don't want to do that. I don't want to take the time. This is my quilt. It's not a customer quilt. And if it was a customer quilt, I would ask them if they wanted me to do that for them, but I would charge them extra for that. Otherwise, if I didn't do this, there will be pleats in the quilting, and I would like to avoid that. So I've got a little bit of a pleat here. See if I can fudge around that. And I mentioned before that I did wash this quilt before I put it on the machine. And I believe some of the thread that was used to stitch this together had shrunk, and I think that caused some of the problem, but I don't know that it caused all of it. But anyway, so now we got a lot less fullness in here than what we had before. This section here, of course, is smaller, but I don't think it's going to be that noticeable once I get the quilting done in it. At least I'm hoping. Another thing this creates is if you've got a pattern that you're following and it fits exactly in your block, now you've got blocks that are different sizes, so you may have to adjust that. But anyway, this is how I fixed that problem with too much fullness, and hopefully this will work fine. I just have one more block to stabilize, and then I'll be ready for the detail quilting. Okay, I'm getting ready to put the design motif here in this section, and I wanted to show you how I'm going to mark this block so that I can get the element in and get it as even as possible. Now, these blocks are not square by any means. I'm not talking about the shape, but it may be hard to tell here, but this point is up higher than this one. So it is kind of a challenge to put anything in here and get it to look balanced. So what I'm going to do is measure the narrowest part of this block, and it is about 6 3/8. And so I am going to mark 3 and 1, 2, 3, yeah, 6 3/8. I'm going to do 3 and 3/16. And I'm going to mark that same measurement down here, and I'm going to draw a line. So I'm going to divide this piece into quarters, and I'm using a water or an air soluble marker. Now the narrowest point here is about the same, so we'll do 3 and 3/16. Make a couple marks and then draw a line here. So the best that I can tell, this is the center of the quilt right here. Now I want a 2-inch square in there, and I want it centered, so I am going to line up my ruler, my crosshairs, with marks on my ruler, and I'm going to mark 2 inches and then turn the ruler and mark the other 2 sides at 2 inches. Now there's another set of marks that I need. I need diagonal marks. So this is kind of where I find I have the most trouble getting things to line up. But this part here doesn't seem to be too bad. And I'm going to mark that there. And that doesn't have to go all the way across. But okay, so I have some guidelines to work with. And now I'm going to start up in this corner here, and I'm going to draw in my heart. And I'm going to start about here and then just fill in this space with the half heart shape and come on this side and do the same. And if you can see, I'm using this square to kind of judge how high up I want to go with the top of the heart. So I don't want it to go any further than that. And now I want to put in my loop, so I'm going to put it in there. So now I have my heart drawn, and I'm going to go and do this all the way around. Now, if you're not wanting your hearts to fill this much space, you do not have to do them this way. And I've been doing these hearts freehand. This is my second row, but I was finding some issues, so I decided it was time to get out the marking tools and see if I could make this a little bit simpler, at least in the quilting stage. Okay, so the hearts are all drawn in, and now I just need to connect them. So I'm going to just draw the arc from point to point. And I could probably draw another set of marks here, but I think this will work okay. Now I'm going to quilt this in, and I'm going to sort of follow these marks as close as I can, but I don't want this to really slow me down so that I'm working really hard to get on the line exactly. So we'll see how this works. So I'm going to start with this heart here and secure my stitching. And I'm going to trim threads and then do the other side. And do my loop there, and then come over and do the next heart. Finish this heart up now. And then just connect to the last heart to the first heart, and there we go. Now this is air soluble pen, so that will disappear over time, but you can also use water to get rid of that. But that made the quilting go faster, and I think I got a pretty good result from that. Okay, I'm sitting in front of the double wedding ring that I just took off the machine a couple days ago. This is the smaller one, the one that I was having so much trouble with, the one I quilted the hearts in. It looks better than what I was expecting it to turn out, because I was having so much trouble with it. But I'm pretty happy with it, actually, for what it had started out to be, because it was very out of square. Part of that, I think I caused that when I washed the quilt. I had to put it through the quilt soak before I put it on the machine, because it was just dirty, and it was just bothering my allergies, so I had to do that. And the thread it was pieced with was 100% cotton, and it shrunk, so it caused some problems. But I doubt that it was that square to begin with, but the washing, it just kind of made it worse. So I don't know what else I could have done to it. I could have probably tried to block it, but that's just more than what my physical health can handle right now. I can't get down on the floor and do all of that pinning and stretching, and that's just not something I can physically do at the moment. So I think it's going to be okay. It's not the best job I've ever done, but it turned out okay, and I'm pretty pleased with it. And I'm going to try a different design on the next one. I have that on the machine at the moment, and I'll see how that turns out. So that one is a little bit it's more square, but there's still going to be some fullness issues in it, and it is hand pieced, so it is not going to tolerate manipulating as much, because the stitching will pull loose, and some of the fabric is pretty it's not thin, but the seam allowance is very small. There's not even a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on some of these pieces, so it's and the fabric is older, so it's not going to tolerate being stretched out, and I'll just have to see how it goes. So I will show you some video of that when I get to that point. But here we go. This one is finished. This is the double wedding ring. I like it. I think it'll be fine. It'll be usable, and that's the purpose of quilting these older quilts, is just to make them usable so that they'll have a life again. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you again in the next one.
Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links. And to keep up with my newest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.